Hi, I'm Henrietta Burroughs, and I'd like to welcome you to my show, Talking with Henrietta. On this show, I'll be talking with 6 East Palo Alto City Council candidates who are competing against each other to fill 2 seats that will be open on the East Palo Alto City Council. My guests include Mayor Ruben Abrica, Jeffrey Austin, Mark Dinan, Webster Lincoln, Hugh Smith, and Gail Wilkerson. I will begin our discussion this evening by asking each of them to briefly introduce themselves and describe any positions or activities in East Palo Alto that they'd like to share with us. So, and do note, I did say briefly. So Mayor Abrica, why don't we start with you? You're muted, Mayor Abrica.
My apologies. I was saying thank you for the invitation to participate in dialogue with other candidates. I'm Ruben Abrica. I currently serve as the mayor, and I have served on the city council for many years. I've always been active in one activity or another. I'm a current member of the Boys and Girls Club of the Peninsula. I have volunteered through the pandemic in many ways, translating in Spanish with a clinic, with other providers, distributing food to our neighbors, and mostly just trying to look after each other. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jeffrey Austin.
Evening, everyone. I'm Jeff Austin. I'm a lifelong resident of East Palo Alto since 1960. Last 15 years, I've been the executive director of the Midlands Athletic Association, with the Youth Holistic Development Agency. The last 6 years, I've served as the Senior Advisory Committee member or chair. I'm also currently a commissioner for the Council of Aging for San Mateo County, and I love East Palo Alto.
Mark Dinan.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you for organizing this, Henrietta. It's good to be back. My name is Mark Dinan. I am currently the vice chair of the Public Works and Transportation Commission. I've been active in the community in a variety of ways. I led an effort to get air quality sensors installed a couple of years ago, filling in a gap of knowledge, letting people know what the air quality is. So we did that with purple air sensors. I was a member of the redistricting commission for San Mateo County Board of Supervisors. And I guess my contribution there was speaking out strongly against East Palo Alto being included in a proposed district that would have had us with Half Moon Bay, which made no sense and marginalized our political power. I've done a lot of online work, including East Palo Alto Neighbors. I've done a lot of Bay Trail advocacy and garbage cleanups and maintenance. And part of that is getting garbage cans and dog poop stations installed on the Bay Trail. I've been living in East Palo Alto for 12 years. I'm married. My wife's Peruvian. We speak Spanish at home, and my son is in 7th grade. Thank you.
Thank you. Hugh Smith.
Thank you for the invitation. I am a born and raised native of East Palo Alto. I'm a homeowner. I am a currently appointed planning commissioner for the city. I'm a retired DOI analyst, so I have a lot of extensive background in analyzing, and I'm a senior activist. I got involved in the community because I believe that there needs to be a community member on the table where the rubber meets the road. There are some things that we need to do, and I believe that there needs to be a voice for the people who drive and live on the corner and who are interacting with their community and know what it feels to be a rubber hits the road resident. And that's me. Thank you so much.
Well, for those who don't know, what is a DOI analyst?
Oh, Department of Interior. I'm a retired civil servant.
Thank you. Gail
Sorry about
Wil-
that.
No, no problem. Gail Wilkerson. You're muted.
I always go after her. I got to remember that.
Ah,
Okay, Gail Wilkerson, 1955, bookmark that. Father was in the Navy. He bought a house on his VA loan, $3,000 on Henderson Avenue. That's when East Palo Alto and Menlo Park were the same. And our relatives and friends were commingling, and we are the same. We started St. John Missionary Baptist Church on Madera, in the Feelings House, and then it was white flight, and the people abandoned the church on Bay Road, and the pastor and all the adults, we were going there first half a day. We shared it, then they bought it. So if the Wilkerson kids weren't there, church did not start. I graduated from Menlo Atherton High School. That was the start of my hard knocks with relations, ethnic relations. Like in some classes, I was the only African American in the class. Today, those same classmates want to be in my Facebook list. Real estate broker, tax preparer to this day. I've helped people with their immigration papers. I was charging less than a lot of the other people around, and they got mad at me, my competitors. I raised 5 boys only. I didn't have any sisters either. And they're all grown, and they're all making money. My oldest, he has 2 college degrees. I believe in education. I said, do something. And in the city, I'm on the senior advisory committee. I was on the rent board, and I was on the task force. So I've been very involved, but mostly my career, I worked at the Postal Service too. And
So Gail, thank
know,
you.
I could go
I am sure we'll
Yeah,
hear much
you know what?
more from you much later on. And I don't want Webster Lincoln to be left out.
Oh,
I went in
funny.
alphabetical order and realized that.
That's what I was, that threw me off. Go ahead, Lincoln.
So my name is Webster Lincoln. And I grew up here in East Palo Alto, been a resident for more than 30 years, off and on. I come from a military family, so the first few years of my life I lived in Lemoore and also at Moffett Field before they closed the Naval Air Station in 1994. And then that's when, my parents, they ended up buying their home here. But my grandparents and my mom, they're from East Palo Alto. I'm from East Palo Alto, but they, have been here since the 60s. They're also founding members of the St. John Missionary Baptist Church. I attended Menlo Atherton High School, and I went to San Jose State University, where I studied psychology, chemistry, and biological science. I currently serve on the East Palo Alto Sanitary District Rate Advisory Committee. I contribute to projects like the East Palo Alto Community Archive, and I support other nonprofits in East Palo Alto. And that's my background. And, is that all what we're answering?
Well, you can tell us more if you think of it as we go on. So
Okay.
I'm going to ask each of you, and I'll start back in alphabetical order again with Mayor Abrika. Why is it that you think individually you would perform much better on the council than anyone else who's running for a council seat? Mayor Abrika?
Well, I have always seen myself and continue to view myself as a team player on the council. A city council doesn't run by one person or 2 people. It takes at least 3. And so I feel that I have gained experience over the years. I am able to work with almost anyone. Over the years, I have worked with many people, often disagreeing. but I'm also able to stand my ground. And as they say, you know, speak truth to power. Power is everywhere. It's not only in the elected government. Power is everywhere in the community with different people, different groups. And so I also am a person that was involved in the formation of the city. I'm still very optimistic because I have seen the very positive changes that have occurred. There's always problems, but there's always solutions if we work together. It's not any individual person that's got all the answers. So, you know, that's how I see myself. That's how I have always operated, whether on the city government or, you know, I helped organize a soccer league with 24 teams in the 90s, AYSO. We almost charged no money. I worked with a lot of different people. I used to serve on the Drew Medical Center board. You know, later, as I mentioned, I worked volunteering at the clinic, at the current clinic. So I think I bring my experience and my independence and my ability to work with everyone and listen to the community as things change and we need to do different things.
Okay, thank you. So let's go on down the line. Jeffrey, why is it that you think that you would perform better on the council than anyone else who is running as a council candidate?
It's a great question. My answer would be very similar to Mayor Abrica's, is the experience that I've had within the city, the relationships that I've built between young folks, and elderly folks, as well as the working folks. It has really been an honor to build relationships, effective relationships that demonstrate conflict resolution. Our stories actually are very similar. I run a youth sports organization as well. And if anyone has ever done that, you know how difficult that can be. You're dealing with parents, you're dealing with players, you're dealing with insurance companies, you're dealing with all kinds of business aspects. This experience is vital in bringing to a committee such as the city council, being able, as Ruben said, to stand your ground when you have to, but also to be able to see points and agree to disagree and move on, sticking to objectives. I have military training background that I don't believe anyone else has. I believe in the hierarchy of authority and chain of command. So I have a firm grasp on how to get things done in difficult times.
Okay, thank you. Mark Dinan, why do you think you would perform better than anyone else who's on this in our discussion this evening?
Hi, that's a good question. You know, I think it starts with listening to the community. As somebody who started East Palo Alto Neighbors, which is almost up to 10,000 people, it's a great window into what people are thinking, what they need, and also understanding this is a very diverse and changing community, and to stay on top of what's happening in East Palo Alto in 2022, not what happened in 1985. We're listening to renters and homeowners, listening to young folks and retirees, and it's about getting things done and delivering for the people of East Palo Alto. You know, in a limited way, I've already been able to do that being on the Public Works Commission, being able to get garbage cans installed on the Bay Trail, get the Bay Trail to be cleaned up by Palo Alto, which actually owns it. You know, working on the Public Works Commission to get roundabouts installed on Polgus Avenue, which just happened this week. And one thing people are unified about in East Palo Alto is they want a better place to live. You know, we all, everybody I'm talking to, we want a competent city government and utilities that are accountable to our residents. We want police that enforce existing laws against speeding, fireworks, car sideshows, and other dangerous behaviors. We want parks that are clean, safe, and fun, that are vibrant, not violent. And we need to build housing at all income levels. These are things that everybody agrees on. And if you listen to the community, you'll hear this again and again. We also hear that we want common sense regulation of street parking. You know, people can't park right now. And we also want,
Mark, why do you think you're going to perform to give these things better than anyone else?
I think we can, bring up these issues, which are not being brought up by our current city council as part of the agenda. You need to bring them up and talk about them. You can't ignore them. And that's what I'm promising to do. If elected, I will be advocating for this. I'll be advocating for our kids. I'll be advocating for our seniors. And I think I can work with people on city council right now to get it done.
Thank you. Webster, why is it that you think you would perform better than anybody else who's running as a candidate?
Well, first and foremost, I'm running really to bring positive change to the community. And I currently work as a data scientist, but I have a background in biotechnology. But nevertheless, I believe in telling the truth and being factual and not engaging in rhetoric, basically just telling the truth, and to basically provide accurate or as accurate as possible information to the community. I think one thing that differentiates me with some of the other candidates is the connections I have in the community, and my ability to bring people together. I know people at the sanitary district. I currently serve on the rate advisory committee. My mom, she was previously elected to the sanitary district in the 90s. My grandmother, she was the general manager at the water company in Palo Alto Park. And she's currently on the board along with my mother. So I have a lot of different unique connections in this community. And I feel like that what I can do is help unify and bring people together to help solve some of the challenges that we have in this community. And just with my personal background, I'm born and raised here. I was educated here and I work here in the Bay Area. So, I think this having, my skills and experiences, I can connect with a lot of people from various backgrounds in the community.
Thank you.
Yep.
Q Smith, why do you think you would perform better on the council than anyone else here?
Thank you. I believe that I would add to the council because I am not a politician. I am homegrown. I have been here since birth and I'm still here and I'm running to make it happen for the people who are here. I'm in association with grassroots organizations. I am the vice president of the Bay Area Baptist District Association with Women's Department. And I have a connection with people and I don't mind serving people. I'm a teacher, I'm a singer, I'm a daughter, I'm an auntie, I'm a people person in regards to listening to what we need. People are what makes the city a city. And I have that skill. I believe that the community is looking for transformation and change by someone who's experienced every single thing that they do. And I am. I'm a daughter of an entrepreneur. I know what that took from my father to start a business and work very hard. I'm a product of East Palo Alto. I went to all of the schools that we have here. I graduated through that, and the education that I hold took me to becoming a retired civil servant, and I serve. And so I think because I am still here fighting for what is equitable for all of us, respecting our preservation for our history and looking forward to our generational wealth makes me a good candidate because I am East Palo Alto.
Okay, thank you. Gail, why do you think you would be the best of all of the other candidates here?
I know where all the bodies are buried. I've been here a long time. And I just know. I've been sitting back, watching and getting frustrated. My blood pressure has gone up. African Americans have a problem with blood pressure. But anyway, I know a lot. I know the city. I can hit the ground running. I listen to the younger folks here talking, and they're saying a lot of things, but can they do the job? I have done the job. I know I had a business. I ran it. I worked for the civil servant sector also. I worked for the Postal Service 26 years. I worked at Homeland Security. Okay. I think I've done it all. Anything that interests me, I go into it, and I know how to guide people. I'm a consultant. I mean, if you want to know how to start a business, I know how to do it. I've owned 24 restaurants. I graduated from Leader Wolf Culinary School. I know finance, upside down and sideways. I just know when I get interested in something, I stick to it. That's why I started attending the council meetings, and I wanted to see what was true and what was not true. And I did get into it with a certain person on Facebook about going to the council meetings and then going back to Facebook and posting incorrect information, and I got banned. I think I know a lot about East Palo Alto. Oh, okay. I'm ready and I'm able, and I have a voice that I'm going to use for the people who were forced out of East Palo Alto during the foreclosure area, and they weren't hurt, but now they want to help the people currently. I know how to help those people who were displaced.
Gail, thank you. Thank you. I want to make sure everyone has a chance to talk, but then give everyone equal time. So I think we've covered everyone with that question. Several of you have talked about having a competent council. So I'd like to go back through with each of you and ask, what is it that the council's doing right? And what is it that you think the council is doing wrong? And what would you change? Mira Barica, you sit on the council now, so you have great insight into the question. You're muted.
I was going to say, I don't know if I have great insight, but I do have some insights. And actually, I have to be very honest and tell you that I'm bothered, particularly by Mr. Dinan using the word competent city government, because to me, or government, competent government in East Palo Alto. I was here in 1985. I am here in 2022. And when that word was used in the past and today, it seems to imply that people in EPA are not competent to run their own affairs. And I beg to differ, and I take great offense. Whether it's the city government or the school district or the sanitary district or any elected group, I think they do the best they can. Nobody's perfect. There are times when changes need to be made, errors need to be corrected. But when you call people incompetent, it reminds me of the struggle for incorporation. We were all minorities on the city government, and many people call us incompetent, that we could not run our city. And I beg to differ, and it really offends me that Mr. Dinan continues to use that word in such a way. Why don't you call Palo Alto incompetent? They make mistakes. They pay out millions of dollars for police brutality. Why don't you call them incompetent? So anyway, you can tell this really bothers me, because that has been our struggle of minorities in East Palo Alto to run their own affairs. We're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. I think the current city council, I think that if you look at our record, most of the decisions we make are unanimous. We appreciate all the commissioners who do their job. There are times when we make mistakes and we correct them. That's my attitude for government. Nobody's perfect, but when the elected officials, the commissioners, and the people work together to face the challenges, then that's when we can continue to make improvements. And we have made many improvements. I'm not just talking about me, collectively. But that word competent really gets to me. I have faced that throughout my own life. People thinking I'm incompetent because I didn't speak English, because I didn't come from a rich family. And to this day, every time I hear that word now applied to government, it really bothers me.
Thank you, Mira Barica. Jeffrey, how would you respond in terms of the effectiveness of the East Palo Alto City Council and whatever it is you would change, and your reaction to competent.
Hmm.
Mhm.
I've been here a long time. I've been through the drug wars, through the brutality. I have lost members of my family here. I feel that our city council, for the most part, does a pretty good job. There are a lot of complex issues. Maybe we need some more diversity in skill sets, possibly address some of those issues. Competent, it is offensive. It's offensive to call anybody of folks who are trying to create positive change incompetent. It's not going to be acceptable by people. I do find it slightly offensive, but I believe that we can educate, elevate one another to bring cohesivity to the city, to unify our city. And that's my personal opinion. Can we deal with it? Yes, we have to deal with it. We've been dealing with it for 400 years, American people. So it is something that we all are going to have to deal with. I would like to keep my focus on what the needs of the people are. All of the people. When I say that, even though I hear statements that may be offensive, even though I hear possible misinformation, I still feel that there's a way to keep focus on the prize of bringing the best services, bringing the best benefits, bringing the best access, bringing the best funding, the resources that we can serve our people in a better manner. I believe,
I'm
yes.
going to save the rest of it.
Because I could go all day on that one. It's a touchy
Yes.
situation, but I just want to see unity amongst all of us as we go forward.
Okay, thank you. Mark, what is wrong with the council now? What do you think is right? And
think we-
your response to what's been said so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just comment on this. I think Mayor Abrica is not used to being held accountable for performance. And this is what this election's about. It's a referendum on his performance on city council and the rest of the council members. When I'm talking about the city, I look back to earlier this year where we had vacancies at city manager, police chief, and city attorney, which we still have. We also had vacancies in the public works director. We had 17 of 34 police officers empty, positions not filled. While this isn't unique to East Palo Alto, staffing issues, it's of great concern to the community when we have so many empty positions, and I've left some off. Those include a lot of staff positions. When in 2019, I met with city staff, including Jeff Liu, the police chief, saying, hey, we need to do something about our parks. We need to get cameras there. I'm in them every day walking my dog. They refused to do so. Mayor Abrica refused to and was opposed to having cameras put in the parks. And in 2021, no, it's not a lie. The city council discussed and did not prioritize park security. 2021 and 2022, we had murders in Martin Luther King Park and in Jack Farrell Park. It's not saying that we can look at the violence that happened in our parks and say, okay, that absolutely wouldn't happen if we had taken a rational approach to park management, but we did nothing. And things that I had talked to city staff and had written every council member about actually happened recently. When we talk about competent city management, we have $110 million in reserves, and at least 20 to 30 of that could be spent immediately on improving the lives of people in the city. These are things that we need. We need clean water. We need to address all sorts of other issues. What I see the city doing again and again and again is, instead of anticipating problems and solving them, we have a problem become a disaster and react to them. And
Mark, thank you.
We can do better as a city.
Okay. Thank you. Webster?
Yeah, I just wanted to say something. I agree with Mayor Abrica, because East Palo Alto has always been kind of under-resourced, and sometimes we have to play the hand you're dealt, so you can't just say that people are incompetent, especially when you're put at a disadvantage to begin with. But nevertheless, I think that some things that the council probably could have done, I think, better is when it comes to development, especially particularly with the Amazon building, as what people call it. I think that we could have gotten more out of that other than a job train office under the parking garage. I think we could have got some, at least street level retail. There's parking already there that people could use. So nevertheless, I think that, we do have a lot of vacancies that need to be filled. I don't know if that was the result of the pandemic and just attrition. But nevertheless, I think that, this council could have focused on retaining staff and hiring and making better hiring decisions, when it comes to, the city manager. But, I guess the city attorney was chased off. So I don't know. I don't know if that has anything to do with Mayor Abrika, who's running right now, or who's currently on council. But nevertheless, I think that, just those things that, just how development and also the intergovernmental relations, with the sanitary district and our various utility providers in East Palo Alto. There hasn't been any intergovernmental meetings between the sanitary district and the city of East Palo Alto until recently. I think that if they were able to build better relationships and partner and work together when it comes to planning, we could definitely help move some of these projects forward instead of
Webster?
pointing fingers.
Thank you. Q.
Thank you very much. A competent council, what's right, what's wrong, and what to change. People do the best they can. And I was born and raised here. East Palo Alto had been run or is a part of San Mateo County. And I think that it starts from the foundation. And when you're not giving the proper information to make logical, correct decisions, then you have to make decisions by what you have. And like Mayor Abrika mentioned, we are a community of minorities and we are resilient. We work hard, we study, we do research. And when you ask questions and are not given proper information, it makes a difference. Equitable, correct information makes a difference. You have to at least have the resources and the funding and the moving parts to do what needs to be done. I'm for the people. And so I think what the council is doing right is they're continuing to learn. What I think the council is doing wrong doesn't matter in regards to their continuing to learn, and people make mistakes. And the change has to come with having people who are in the community have a seat at the table to continue to make those changes. Growth is change.
Q, thank you. Gail.
I guess the word of the hour is incompetence. I don't like mentioning people's names, but I went 3 weeks without saying that name. He likes putting his foot in his mouth, insert. Incompetence. They're nice people. They're doing the best they can. They're just stagnant. And they've reached their peak. They're not incompetent. That's why I'm running for council. I have the expertise, hit the ground running. They've done it like, my son said yesterday, he said they set the platform up and the best they could. And I've said for every council that has been there, they've done the best. But is the best okay? I mean, is it enough? not one of them had a real estate background. And I think it's, in fact, somebody told me it was a bad word. But having the education, maybe they should have 8 hours of real estate to do a much better job. I see them stagnant on things like housing. I know the state makes us do it, but they're not incompetent. I interviewed for the grand jury, and I didn't want to go for it because the guy, he called, he says, oh, you want to do investigations on East Palo Alto? They're incompetent. Oh my, why did he say that? I'm from East Palo Alto, and that reflects, and I didn't like it. I can call them whatever I want because I live here. But if you've only been here 12 years, you can't say that. And you're taking
Gail?
tours. Got 7 seconds. I got a timer. But I'll shut up.
Oh, thank you. Well, Mayor Abrika, you stirred up a lot, and it's now your chance to respond if you'd like to respond to what you've heard.
Well, I'll just make a brief comment. So Mark Dynam made it very specifically. He and his running mate, Martha Barragan, are targeting me. They don't want me there anymore, but let the voters decide. I think, however, that I'm not speaking for the entire council, but the majority of the council has worked together, and they have been mostly unanimous votes. On the staffing, I do want to say very briefly, one, it's been underway. It's not only East Palo Alto that has had changes. The pandemic has contributed to that. The city attorney was chased away in a certain way, but that's about to be determined by the council fairly soon. For the city manager, we're already in progress with that. The chief of police, it's also coming to an end. So, the main thing I want to say is that I have worked very closely with Vice Mayor Lisa Gaucher to talk to the top management during the period of transition to say, you need to work together, you need to do the best job. And actually, I think they're pretty good. I think they are competent people. I think the interim city manager is a competent person. The interim chief of police is a competent person. And so just because they're interim doesn't mean that they're incompetent, nor that they're not doing a good job. I think they're doing a good job, but we do need to finalize that process, and it will be finalized soon.
Thank you. Jeffrey, and this is the next question for all of you. Describe what you think are the top 3 issues that you would like to address if you're elected. What would you do? And how would you get the other council members to go along with your plan of action?
Great question. My vision is, one, the top priority for me right now is infrastructure. Without the piping issues being enlarged, we cannot grow or build affordable housing or too much of anything else. I don't think that I would have too much problem getting folks on board with that solution. My solution would like to see this infrastructure problem attacked by our own residents or people that we train to do the work. That's a thought that I have. It could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. It could, create some employment opportunities for our residents, as well as satisfy a very pressing issue. My second priority is always going to be the facilitation of funding to our senior center and making sure that our seniors have everything that they need in their golden years. And my third priority is involving our youth in city government and entrepreneurship. Those 3 things are my agendas. I have very solid relationships with the current city council. Being a coach for all these years, I've dealt with each and every one of them for many, many years on many, many things. I think I'd be effective in convincing them.
Okay, thank you. Mark, the 3 top issues you'd like to address if elected, how would you address them, and how would you get the other council members to go along with your plan of action?
Yeah, that's a great question. I want to piggyback on what Jeffrey said. Infrastructure is a tremendous issue. People in East Palo Alto deserve to have utilities that work. We deserve to have, for instance, in my backyard, the primary school canceled a project due to a $5 million charge by the sanitary district. We deserve to have utilities that are fairly priced and transparent. We deserve to have sidewalks and roads that are making it safe for our kids to walk and bike to school. And we deserve to live in a city that has development, has restaurants, bars, cafes, things you don't have to leave town to do, get a haircut, get your oil changed. And I think we need to be smart about development, insist on mixed use development that includes a heavy dose of local businesses, along with the other public benefits that come with development, and making the developers pay their fair share. So if I were to, there's a lot of things to do, and how are we going to get it done? That's why Martha Berringen and I are running. We can get to 3 pretty easily with the existing council to improve our infrastructure, our sidewalks, approve development projects, and not go 20 years in between buildings being approved. And we can also, get our parks improved and other common sense things like hiring a parks and rec director. So there's a lot on the agenda. We have to take it one by one, not bite off too much. I would throw parking in there as an issue, something in the mobility study. This all ties
Okay.
together.
Okay,
So-
I think you've given your 3, right? Webster, what would be your 3? How would you get the council to go along with you, and what would be your plan of action?
So the 3 things that I'd like to address are infrastructure, city services, and economic development in East Palo Alto. But I think when it comes to infrastructure, there's been some comments made that aren't true. One was made by Mr. Dinan. He said that he said that the primary school is canceled because of the sanitary district. That is not true. It was canceled because the land is contaminated. You cannot build a school on contaminated land. Second, he says, the water is dirty. We just had a council meeting, I think it was last week, and there hasn't been any sort of violations from the state, or the regulatory agencies recently. That has made the determination that the water is unsafe to drink. And so I think that people like to use words and play on things like that. And that's just not right, and not the correct thing and information to be putting out into the community. But nevertheless, focusing on infrastructure is when I want to solve some of those issues. Making sure that developers pay their fair share when it comes to making improvements and upsizing pipes, for their projects. Making sure that we're providing services that are beneficial to all residents, implementing a parking program, that would, help alleviate some of the parking issues we're having in our community, especially when you have people from surrounding communities parking their vehicles in East Palo Alto, and also providing opportunities for our entrepreneurs and small businesses in East Palo Alto. And that comes with, some of the development that's being planned, just making sure that they're included in the conversation.
When we go around again, you can tell us how you would get the other council members to go along with you. In the meantime,
Could I respond to that? Because Webster Lincoln said something that was factually untrue. The primary school was remediated, and they took 3 feet of dirt off of the ground, and it absolutely was not stopped because of contamination that was dealt with. They were waiting on the sanitary district sign off to proceed with construction.
That is not true.
It is true.
They leased the Brentwood School for $10,000 a month, and it was a win-win for Zuckerberg and the school district. Get it straight.
No, that happened after they canceled construction.
Mark.
well, I guess we'll leave it at that. Hugh, what 3 issues would you like to address what would be your plan of action if elected? And how would you get your fellow sister council members to go along with you?
Thank you very much. I have much more than three, but I think preservation, infrastructure, and community people is the driving points for me, are the driving points for me. Preservation, we have started that. We have an archive that's been started, I believe, that our history.
Hold on one moment, please. Would all of you mute your mics? There is some interference. Is everyone muted except you?
Is interference somewhere?
Yes, there is something like water running or
Vacuum cleaner.
vacuum cleaner? Where?
That's
Oh,
what it sounds like in my head.
Oh, maybe
Okay.
it's I'm sorry. Maybe it was my paper. I don't know. I have
no.
no. Oh,
Well, I guess we'll just have to try and talk over it. Hugh, I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. Thank you for stopping me. I did say preservation, infrastructure, and community people. And what I would do is to definitely get the community involved, the community members, from the youth to the seniors. I think that the seniors have the history that will keep us flowing down to the youth for the innovation that we need. There are how I would get people or my co-city council members to work with me or come along with me. I think that us working together, doing research, communicating as a team would make a big difference. Getting involved and understanding, speaking with the staff so we can see what the staff needs too. And it's hard to hire when people are not applying and if there's a lack or misconception. I think that we also need to think about what people need so that they can apply. And communication is important to our community. And I really want to push that, to use the tools that are there for us to communicate with our community. It's about people with me, and I, along with them. We can't do this without them. We have to be a voice. And I think we definitely have to be cohesive and partnership to do it. Grants are available, and people don't mind getting involved and getting active, making sacrifices when they see that there's a betterment and they see it.
Okay, Q, thank you so much. Gail?
I'll start off with the less inflammatory one. Organizing my staff, with the staff, not mine. Bringing back the former residents and the former businesses. I hear from them often. They shouldn't have been displaced, forced out, and unlike another candidate, he has tours here, bringing in outside people. I'd end that. The three, a way that I would get the council to go, that's going to be hella hard because they have cronies. I have no cronies. I have no cliques. If you need three to get something done, I'll never get anything done. So get rid of them so I can do my work. That's the way I feel about that. I want to do the same thing like everybody else. I made a list of what they said and what I said that I said it, then they said it. It's clean, safe street, less traffic, grocery store, which I was on the task force, restaurants, movie theaters, housing. That's just a talking point. We're sick of that. We're at the top, 40%. High rises, I brought that up, 2.5 miles. Who's going to bring that up but a real estate person? You double the miles of the city, you'll have 5 miles, and you go and so forth and so on. Who needs another park? Somebody said that. Unlock the gates at MLK. Get rid of feral cats. Even Oakland know they a job efficient. They catch rats. Fireworks. Oh my God, my hair is on fire. Handling the developers, quality of life, listening to the people. What you running for if you're not going to listen to the people? We all should have that on our list.
Gail, thank you so much. Mayor Abrica, we're back to you. You've heard a lot in terms of the three issues that people would address
Yeah.
and what they would do and how would they get their council members to go along with them.
Yeah. Well, I'm not running on the slate, but I feel like I agree with, several people definitely on that, which I think is a good sign. All of us are focusing on very important issues. One of them for me is continue to work on housing. And I'm a big supporter of Measure L that will provide approximately $1 million plus dollars a year. And that can be helpful to prevent displacement from the most vulnerable tenants. And in addition, actually, that money could be used to also help homeowners, homeowners who may be in financial difficulties and need some assistance right away, not in the future, not next year, they don't need market rate housing, they need some financial assistance. So I would encourage everyone to really look at Measure L. And I think every candidate except one who doesn't support this, I think that's very important for the future. It happens to be one where the entire council already has supported, but I think that we need to still design what kind of programs would happen. So that would take some definitely working together with the council. And, some of that process takes place, I think, kind of going back and forth and hearing from the public and then landing on the best solution. Another one is the whole economic development, which also does include infrastructure in a way. I think I mentioned before, it's not a new idea, but I think it needs to be discussed more as a community benefit that was missed in the last round of development in the 1990s. And that is to create a center, a building where you could have 100 micro businesses and people could rotate and they start growing their little business. Then it can become small businesses within the city, and perhaps even do more. I think we need something like that in addition to the other things. And then another priority that I've decided this year really to take on is to work with our regional partners, including the city of Palo Alto, but the county and other, to really get rid of the airport, phase out the airport. I think that is something that several neighborhoods are really affected with the noise.
Palo Alto Airport.
Palo Alto Airport. Every time you go to Cooley Landing, such a beautiful spot, and it's all full of noise from the air. The other thing is that it's dangerous. We've already had a crash with fatalities, and we had several along the marshes. So, I'm all for working with our neighbors, but I think there's sometimes when you have to stand up to them. And I've decided this is one of them because historically, Palo Alto has been a very good neighbor, but they're also responsible politically for having stopped the option of having a bypass that would go from Embarcadero all the way to Dumbarton Bridge. Instead, 80% of the traffic goes right through the middle of our city. So I think this is an important issue also because of climate change. We know airplanes are the worst polluters, their emissions. And many scientists are starting to recommend that we really phase out these smaller airports and people can find other ways of getting around. And besides, most of our people in EPA are not flying those airplanes.
Mayor Abrica, thank you very much. We know how you would work with others on the city council. Now, I've asked the questions for the most part, and I would like to give all of you an opportunity to ask questions of each other. If there's something that you've heard that you'd like to have another candidate clarify, do you have any questions that you might have that you would like to ask? One person or everybody on this panel?
Yeah, I can ask a question.
Okay.
Yeah, Jeffrey, you're involved in youth sports. If you're on council, what suggestions would you have to make our parks better and more responsive to the public? Because, from my perspective as a resident, and having grown up not with a lot of money, the one thing that I could count on is our local parks that had a lot of programs for kids and things like that. So if you're on council, would you support the creation of a public, a parks director? And what kind of changes would you like to see?
Great question. Appropriately aimed also. Yeah, of course, we need to upgrade our parks. Our playing fields are shameful, actually, to many of our participants, because teams come into our town and, don't even want to come to our football field because it's old. I think that the upgrading, one, as far as a Parks and Rec director, yeah, I agree. We need that positioning within the city to continue the vibrancy that started over the summer. I'd like to see a return of the recreation center, because Bell Street, where the senior center is now, used to be Bell Street Rec. We all hung out there. We played ball there. There's nothing that has truly replaced that is accessible to the majority of the residents here. So I would like to see that happen for sure. But an upgrade of our parks is not such a bad thing. We've got some things in the works with Martin Luther King Park. I don't know where we are with that. I know that certain parts of it have not been ratified as of yet. I don't know if we have to go back to the drawing board, but yes, I would fight definitely for upgrading of our facilities. That benefits everybody. Being able to go out to a park and relax. I got 3 kids at home and a young wife and all this other stuff. I could use some more trees, to go out and relax in and be a place to where we can be out there together doing various events. So I would fight very hard for those changes, especially the Martin Luther King Park. Jack Farrell Park is pretty decent. There's probably some minor tweaks that I would make there. But yeah, we could definitely use an upgraded park, and
Thank
definitely
you.
someone to direct.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Mark. Anyone else has a question of?
I have a question.
Okay, Webster.
Yeah, I have a question for Mayor Abrica. A lot of residents, just out campaigning, they have questions about, medical marijuana. I don't personally smoke or do drugs, but there's an interest in the community to allow people to open up a dispensary within East Palo Alto. I kind of want to know your thoughts on that.
I think two different sets of councils over the years since, this kind of started, I think even like 10 years ago when the voters in California approved that. And we had discussions about what to do. Both times we voted not to allow any businesses in town. Obviously, we didn't take a position that people should not have access, but we felt that it was just not a good way to. People were saying, you can raise taxes, you can make money. We're not denying people the opportunity to, get marijuana for medical purposes, but we felt, and I still do, I think, we at times have had a lot of problems with that issue. And I had to say, I think unanimously, the councils felt like it's not a good fit for our community. And, that might change with the younger generations, perhaps, I don't know. But I know that Redwood City recently did approve, I think, 3 or 4 sites. So we felt, well, other cities can do that nearby and that would be okay. So I guess I still, stand by my position at the time that, not deny people that opportunity, but just we felt other businesses would be more, more important, let's say.
Hugh, Gail, you're
Me,
muted. Would you have a
I've been trying-
question?
Yes, I have. I've been trying to get in the last 3 times. I have questions of everybody here, but I was going to say it nasty one to Mark, but Abarica, did I not come into the city council and you probably don't remember me because you slammed the door in my face when I was doing census. But I presented about the airport. I wanted to get rid of the airport. I said the planes are just falling down anyway. We needed an exit off the Dumbarton Bridge, which started like 20 years ago. I mentioned East Palo Alto having the highest rate of asthma because of the 101, the Willow Road, and the Bayfront, and the traffic coming right through. I brought that up. You know, I'm kind of getting incensed. I felt like I was a sixth council person. You know, I go to all the council meetings, and I'm just going to start speaking up for a lot of stuff that I have brought up. How come after 20 years, you guys haven't done anything? And you're letting them come over the Newell Bridge where they wanted it blocked off because they didn't want minorities coming down Newell Road. How come after 20 years, I know yesterday you said, I wasn't there then, but you've been here, you're here now, and we don't see anything done. So Mike, I guess my question is to you, how come it's taking you guys 20 years, you know, to do one little simple thing? I don't want Palo Alto coming over the new bridge, and you're widening it. And you said, well, we don't have to pay for it. Palo Alto took the lead. They widened, they're going to widen the Newell Bridge so Teslas can come by. I swear, in 1 hour, I counted 20 Teslas that came over.
Thank you. Let
Okay.
Mayor Abrika answer.
Well,
Let's see how he's gonna sideswipe it.
you know, first time I want to say, well, you know, I'm glad that you also support getting rid of the airport. And second, I am not responsible for everything that happens in East Palo Alto, nor am I responsible for everything that councils have done in the almost 40 years. I just want to make that clear. I don't want to be the target and feel like somehow I'm the one to blame for everything.
I said 20 years.
Well,
I didn't
second,
say 40.
it doesn't matter. I've been here 43 years, so I've seen a lot myself. I've experienced a lot, and it's not easy to deal with some of these issues. You know, Newell Road does need to, Newell Bridge does need to be replaced by orders of the state. It's too old, it could collapse. And it's also needed to keep going and doing the flood management. That's another thing that I'm proud of that our city has done along with Palo Alto, Menlo Park, and the 2 counties. We have constructed the first phase, the Gardens neighborhood, for the first time in their lives. They feel safe from a 100-year flood. And so now we're working on the second phase, which is from West Bayshore all the way to Middlefield. And that bridge needs to be replaced. And it is considered Palo Alto's bridge. That's the way the state designates. The University Bridge is considered our bridge. And at some point, we also need to work on that, to replace it, to upfit it in order to finish the management of the flood. That's all I can say. But, you know, we can agree on the other things. Maybe the way we've done it hasn't been the best way. Some things take a long time, but I think we should keep working on these.
Webster, Q,
Thank you.
would the 2 of you have questions to ask of your fellow sister candidates?
Well, you know, I do want to ask Mr. Dinan again. You know, I feel like you have a tendency to use double talk and to kind of use words in ways that they don't exactly say something, but if you stop and think about it, like there's a double meaning, something that's left. I mean, we talked about the word competent. It is very an unfortunate use of it. You could have used another word. They need to do better. They need to study more, something. You know, competent really hits at the heart of intelligence. And so why do you tend to use, is it just the marketing habit, or is it, anyway, I have to say, I have a master's degree in from Stanford in education in linguistic and cultural pluralism. I also I did graduate work at the University of California in San Diego in linguistics. I know 3 languages. I have studied another 2. I'm very keen on how people use words to hide, to deceive, to a tag to indirectly. I find your language sometimes to be in that category of kind of not quite saying it, but, implying it. And then you can always say, well, I didn't say that. So, I just like to know why you tend to use the words at different times.
I guess I should unmute myself if I'm going to answer the question. I'd like to just respond to the airport issue. Just make a comment on that. I agree. I live near the airport. I would love to see the Palo Alto airport shut down. I've often thought if they can have an airport, we can have an anti-aircraft society here in EPA, but that probably wouldn't go over well. About the airport, though, I think that's in Palo Alto, and we need to focus on what we have control of in our own city as a focus of our governance of the city of East Palo Alto, and not try to change things that we really would be very difficult. We can put pressure on them, but we have control over whether there's sidewalks on Runnymede. We don't have control over whether the airport is open or shut directly. Getting back to the verbiage, it's interesting. I've been pretty involved this year, in the last year, going back to OPA, and people have accused me of saying misinformation, when I've always said, hey, if I have a fact wrong, let me know. If I have something that's incorrect and you can challenge me on, I'm open to correction. What I often find out, and I've heard it tonight, is that I have the facts right. People are trying to bully or try to state something that's incorrect and try to shout out louder than something that I know is grounded in fact. And I did not use the word incompetent. I said competent. There's a difference. And when we're talking about governance, that's what people want. They want a responsive and competent government. They want to know when they call the police, because fireworks are going off, that the police will actually take them seriously on these sorts of issues. That wasn't so much an issue this year. It was an issue in 2020. In terms of language, I do not hear critiques of my language, only from people who are upset with the facts I am stating. And that is something that I'm going to, keep my, I can always improve my delivery. I can always learn. I had a very good call today with a friend of mine who was coaching me on ways that I can say things differently. But there are facts and there are reality. And what I find is a lot of our city leaders do not want to hear the facts. They do not want to hear the reality, and that they accuse people like me who are stating the facts of disinformation, when in fact, what I'm saying is grounded in talking to many people, doing research, and coming up with facts that is not disinformation. It's just based in reality. And I'll leave it at that.
Comments from any of you?
Yes. Can I speak?
Of course.
Okay, well, since he's brought it up himself, last night he said that
Who is the he, Gail?
Oh, I have to say it. Dynam.
Oh,
Him. Last night he said that he kicked people off of his Facebook page because they were rude, nasty, or something. But I saw a post also said, well, if they're picking on him, he could go back after them. But that's not necessarily the case, because he has kicked people off of his page, like me, because I would straighten out what Abarica would say. He would get on his page after leaving a council meeting and say something. I said, well, Mark, that's not quite true. He kicked me off his page and called me the David Chang. Everybody know who David Chang is? He said I was the David Chang of East Palo Alto neighbors. And he kicked off some other people because they were going against them. He said, last night he had 8 moderators. He kicked off John Bryan for deleting corrupt, inflammatory remarks about Webster Lincoln's family. So I guess I'm supposed to ask him a question. Well, I already know the answer. Everybody knows the answer to what he's all about, Mr. Abarica. And you said it very nice. Oh boy, I guess that's what 20 years, how long you been on the council? Get you, okay? Decorum. And that's he destroys decorum, something I had been reprimanded for. He's called to consult everything in the book, and they put him on the Public Works Commission. I just don't understand that at all. But I guess the cliques and the cronies didn't get to the council about him, but they got about me. But I guess the misrepresentation, what Abarika said that he does, and he says things in the same, and what, like I said, open mouth, insert foot. And that's what he's all about. And I could say something nice about him because
well, Gail, before you do, I don't want to interrupt something nice, but anyway, Jeffrey Q. Webster.
I feel like I should respond to that if I was getting mentioned in Gail's comment.
Sure, go ahead. I was going to give other people a chance to talk and make comments and get back to you, but since you'd like to comment now.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is that running East Palo Alto Neighbors has been a learning process for me. And one thing that I've very much learned is that there's some things that work well in a public forum like EPA Neighbors, and there's some things that work much better in your living room when you're talking to people. And so it's been learning. I don't think I've been perfect in the administration, but what we have been is fair, and we have rules, ground rules. And keep in mind, this is a Facebook group. Anyone can start a Facebook group, and that's what I've said repeatedly. And our rules are: you can't be abusive, you can't harass people, you can't, either in the group or outside of the group, go after people. You can't take screenshots and post it. It's a private group and say, hey, this is how these people are. And so everybody who's been kicked out of EPA Neighbors has been for a reason. And usually some of the reasons is using a lot of profanity. Some of it's going after people and acting very uncharitably and very unkind. In terms of, the administration, yeah, we have 8 people and they represent East Palo Alto pretty well. It's a heavily Hispanic group that people sell tacos. They get a lot of information. We did a lot of COVID information on that group. I mean, it's up to 9,800 people. The reason why the group is popular is because we don't allow bad behavior. And again, I'm not saying I haven't learned a whole lot about how to work in social media and the journey from 0 to 9,800 people. But, it's to say that we're just, kicking people out for no reason is just not true. And we're doing our best, and it's, it seems to be working.
Other comments?
Yeah, I don't think that's true. I remember, I think I was in that group and there was an issue about fireworks, and there was a fire that was started behind the gardens, and it was mostly because of the homeless encampments that were, behind that were in that hang out back there by the Bay Trail. I had made a comment, just trying to clarify the truth, because they were trying to blame fireworks for starting a fire, back there behind the gardens. And so I was removed for trying to tell the truth that we have a lot of homeless encampments and there's a homeless issue in East Palo Alto. And that's what I was trying to communicate. And so that's why I was removed from the group. So I think what Mr. Dinan's saying is factually not true. But nevertheless, I have a question for the group, and I want to know what plans do you guys have for, East Palo Alto is mostly a Latino community, and we have mostly a majority of Black candidates. I want to know what you guys plan to do to help and support, the Latino community in East Palo Alto.
Gail has her hand up.
Well, I've never stopped. In my tax office, I had 3,000 customers and clients, 98% of them Hispanic. I got along with them very well, and I tried to learn the language. I found out you just can't start thinking that you are speaking Spanish. I dedicated learning the language. I learned one word I could understand totally a year, because that's all I could handle. Yo hablo muy poquito español. Mi español is muy malo. But I got so good in it, and I had 34 34 employees, 3 weren't Hispanic, and I learned a lot during that time period. So I've done immigration papers at the I don't know, one of my pet competitors, they started getting it, and well, they were charging $5,000, and I was charging like 200 to get a family of 12 legal in this. I was there for them. They loved me, and I had no problems until the restaurant, the ICE
Don't
came in.
mention the name.
Okay. Well, they're not there anymore. They're gone. They got displaced too. So I felt like I've done a lot, and I really didn't get a chance to get back to the council. Maybe you know more about this, Ms. Averica. I was on the rent board, and Webster was running, and I can say Lopez, he's a public figure. He was giving away diapers and potato chips and stuff. And I made the statement, maybe he would have done better if he had given out alcohol shots. Somebody ran and said, Gail calling Mexicans alcoholics. And it got all the way to the council. They read over the Zoom that what Gail had done to the Hispanic people. Here I am. What are you talking about? I was, caught off guard. And it's going on to that day, a lot of lies and everything.
So Gail, explain that comment that it would have been better if they had given out alcoholic shots.
Because
yes,
people like, Mardi Gras time and happy hour. Some people are more geared. I wasn't saying Mexican. I mean, Black people. That's why they closed down most of the liquor stores around here. But they isolated it and made think I was targeting one race. And all I did was say to Webster at that time out in Facebook was that maybe he would have done better if he had gave out alcohol shots, let's have a happy hour or something like that.
Gail, thank you so much. Webster asked also for responses from the other candidates. So I'd like to also give them an opportunity.
Can I say just briefly, because right here on the panel, I'm the only Latino Mexican descent person. So I appreciate the question, because I think that over the history of the city, at least since I've moved here, I moved here when the Latino population was officially only 15%. And, now it's close to 65%. I think what's important, and what I've always done, I have always stayed in touch with the Latino community, trying to find people who kind of can work across communities. Sometimes it's a language issue, even like when I and other people started the soccer league, I specifically went out to African-American families, and particularly the immigrant African, diaspora was very interested. LeGrand Sawyer, I don't know, I'm sure some of you remember, he played on the national team in Ghana, and he was very supportive. Mera Okelo, I think when we find opportunities to go across, Lisa Gaucher, one thing I appreciate about her, let's say, among other things, is that she has always come to our Cinco de Mayo events, ever since I can remember, riding her bike in the parades. I think and I've tried to do that too, try to go and communicate with different ethnic groups, definitely with the African-American community. And I know that there's some African-American, diaspora people who are Spanish speakers too. So language is important, and it shouldn't be stereotyped sometimes. So I think I will continue doing my part, that I think we have to work across and always try to find ways to work together. And here and there's some conflicts that occur, but those occur even within unique communities. So anyway, I will keep.
So we will not have any incidents like the one that beset the Los Angeles City Council.
Well, it goes both ways, I have to tell you, because I would never No, that was totally inappropriate. And I can tell you that it was really based on skin color, because even in Latin American, we know that the white European descent elite has always looked down at brown people like me or black people like others who are also Latinos who speak Spanish, but they use it as a way to do that. You know, I have to say, here in EPA, there have been a few times, a few people who have really expressed anti-Mexican, and I have not appreciated that. I've not gotten into big fights publicly, but I let them know this is not good to do that, you know, because all it takes is a few leaders to stir up hate, and then it spreads. I'm not one of those.
Thank you, Mayor Abrica. Jeffrey, how would you answer Webster's question or respond to what you've heard so far?
There's a couple of things I'd really like to say, but probably will not have time. You know, working with children over the past decade or two has offered me the opportunity to embrace and be embraced by all of the various cultures here in East Palo Alto. We're talking about African American, Latino. You know, there's a Polynesian culture that's huge here as well that needs to have inclusivity in our conversations, as well as voices being heard in our government meetings. You know, I know it's been said before by folks, well, I don't see color. I truly do not look at East Palo Alto in a racial way. I don't. I look at people as people, and I try to find the similarities and the needs of all the people. Now, granted, race always plays some part in almost everything we do, not only in East Palo Alto, but in the state of California, the United States of America, and the world itself. So that's an issue that we're always going to have to deal with. But for me personally, is bringing folks together with community events that offer multicultural opportunities to blend together. You know, inviting everyone to the table, always being open to have everyone at the table. But dealing with the seniors and dealing with the youth will help engage and help to solidify relationships between races. I'm a firm believer in that, because when the person gets old, they don't really think about color. They think about arthritis. They think about eating. They think about how am I going to get to the grocery store. They're not thinking about color.
I
They're
represent
not.
that remark.
But you know what I'm saying? They're thinking about, am I going to get out of the bed this morning? And
Okay.
so us as public servants need to, you know, make sure that we're understanding what people's real needs are.
Jeffrey,
there's-
thank you. Thank you. We need to give Q a chance to talk. I'm sure there might be a lot that you have to say right now, Q, since we haven't heard from you for a while.
I learned a long time ago, speak when needed. Listen, there's 2 ears and 1 mouth. Thank you, Webster. It's ironic that there's so much division and exclusion in our world that we miss the simple things of inclusion. I was born and raised here in a community that was African American, Polynesian, Asian. Somebody mentioned that there was no Asians here, and that wasn't true. We've always had everybody here. It's just where you went to see. And I'm grateful that my mother taught me that sometimes, coming from the South, with the assortment of heritage that's in my family, Black, Indian, Native American, Latino, that we're all something of something of something of something. And so sometimes I think it's best that we just close our eyes and be people. My neighbors live next door to me. I have African Americans and Latinos and an Asian and some new neighbors that I have been too busy to meet, but I've waved. But my Latino neighbors literally take care of me. And we just have to close our eyes and meet what we need. That's my thing. People, people, people. And let's stop picking out the race thing, even though it's real. Don't get me wrong. I know that I'm an African-American woman in America, and there are certain things that I cannot do. I'm not able to do, or it's hard to do. And so I don't take that from the other nationalities. But to answer his question, what would I do to support them? Just what I'm doing. Just treat them as people. Ask them what they need the same way that they literally ask me what I need. And enjoy the fact that I can learn things that I don't know about them to make us better. I love my neighbors, and my neighbors love me. The proof is in the pudding, and it's not because I'm Black or they're Mexican. It's about what we need as a people. We support each other. And that's the bottom line. While showing yourself as an example, I think that's, if anything, what they need. Everybody needs to be heard. And that's my thing. I've been saying it, that I have so much to say, but I'm going to stick with people, the community. And we can't be a council. We can't be a city. We can't be better. We can't be effective. We can't grow properly if we don't treat the people right. From jobs to police to infrastructure, all that stuff is dependent on people.
Hugh, thank you so much. Now, Webster, you asked the question, and before I ask you to answer it, if elected to the council, I'd like to have Mark answer it. I think everyone else here has answered that question except you, Webster, and Mark.
Okay. Yeah, it's a great question. East Palo Alto is like at least 65% Hispanic. I speak fluent Spanish. I lived in Mexico after college for about a year, and my wife is Peruvian. We speak Spanish at home. We're raising our son, who's Peruvian American, I guess. Looks like any other kid walking around East Palo Alto. I think that there's a lot we can do for the community. And one thing, why we have widespread support for our campaign is that we're talking about the issues that matter to everyone in East Palo Alto, especially Hispanic families who have kids. Everyone wants the safe streets. They want to be able to walk to school safely, bike to school safely. I don't think we can say honestly that it's safe to send your kid to school, even if it's 6 blocks on a bicycle or walking down the middle of the street. The things we're talking about are supporting the many small entrepreneurs, people who are selling tacos or pupusas, helping them become quote unquote legit businesses, with business plans, with navigating the permitting and getting insurance and getting bank loans and establishing lines of credit and things like that. Really supporting our small businesses, which are plentiful. They're anything from gardening services to food to construction. And there's a huge difference between working for someone else and having your own business and being able to make 4 or 5 times as the owner as opposed to the employee. In particular, I think we can bring things like music in the parks to our parks and have cultural celebrations. There's tons of great music out there, including mariachi, banda, all the great musics of the world. And everyone loves reggae, jazz, at least the Latin jazz, things like that. And really creating a lively East Palo Alto that has cafes, bars, restaurants that people want to attend. These are, when I lived in Guadalajara, there was these things within walking distance of my house. And I think if we do it right with mixed income development, with a lot more housing, a lot more apartments with 3 or 4 bedrooms to accommodate families, it's going to be good for everyone, but especially the people who live here right now, the folks who make up, the majority of the city.
Thank you, Mark. Webster?
Yes. So I asked this question, because, my wife, she's Latina. She's from Colombia. And, I've personally have been through and helped her through the immigration process. And, I know how a language barrier can limit a lot of your opportunities here in America, from employment to healthcare and educational opportunities. But, as any person. I want to help provide opportunities for all people in our community. But growing up here in East Palo Alto and being Black, sometimes you don't understand the struggles that a lot of other people outside of your local, your family, or what they personally go through. And so I just want to make sure that we support everybody in East Palo Alto and all residents, including immigrants, and helping them to overcome a lot of the challenges that they experience in the community. So that's one of the reasons why I asked the questions, because I wanted to know what there's a lot of us African Americans that are running in particular, but but I just wanted to know like everyone's thoughts on supporting the Latino community in East Palo Alto.
Webster, thank you. In the time that we have left, which is not much, I'd like for each of you, in perhaps a minute, give a closing statement in terms of what you think right now is most important for your campaign and getting information to the voters. Mayor Abrica.
Oh, yes. Okay.
In alphabetical order, I'm going.
Well, I thought you would reverse it, but it's okay. No problem. Well, I'm going to, in some ways, following up on Webster's question, I'm going to spend 30 seconds in English and 30 seconds in Spanish. Well, I want to, thank the voters who have supported me in the past, and hopefully you will support me again. I think I'm a hardworking person, very connected to the community, have done, worked on very many different projects. And I think we, at this point, coming out of the pandemic, I believe we need to get back to basic things, the improving the conditions of life for people in many ways. Quiero darles las gracias a los que me han apoyado en el pasado y les pido su voto ahora. Creo que trabajo yo bastante para ayudar a la comunidad, y ahora saliendo de la pandemia estamos, yo pienso que regresando a las cosas básicas para mejorar la vida de la gente. Gracias.
Gracias, Mayor Abrica. Jeffrey Austin.
I want to thank the fellow candidates. Henrietta, thank you for the opportunity to come together once again this week. I want to say that I want to give glory to God, my Father, the Son, Jesus Christ. I got to get that in there. But those that are looking at voting, please vote. Everyone get out and vote. We appreciate everyone in East Palo Alto. I was born and raised here. I've worked very hard in various departments and on various projects over the last 20 years. I'm no nonsense. I believe in getting things done. I'm a collaborator. I have no problem with standing my ground against developer or anybody else. I have no problem with conceding if I am wrong. I'm transparent, I'm honest, and I'm willing to be your city council person representing you and the needs that you have for the future of East Palo Alto. Please vote for Coach Council 2020.
Thank you, Mark Dinan.
Thank you, Henrietta, for hosting this forum. It's been a very interesting night. I'm running on a slate with Martha Berrigan, and we're united for a better and brighter future for East Palo Alto. We're asking for your vote this November for City Council. We think you deserve better. You deserve a city with clean water. You deserve a city with vibrant parks. You deserve a city with safe streets, easily available parking, and sidewalks. Kids should feel safe walking and biking to school and not have to walk down the middle of the street. We deserve a city with businesses, and we should not have to leave East Palo Alto to go out to eat, get a haircut, or get an oil change. We deserve a city with much more housing at all levels, not one that fails to meet state mandates for housing construction. It should not take 4 years and over 7 city council meetings and 30+ community meetings to get a new apartment building approved. We deserve to have a city that takes governing seriously, not a city with multiple vacancies at the most senior level. We deserve to have a city that enforce common sense laws against speeding cars, dangerous sideshows, and illegal fireworks. And we deserve to have a city that's great for everyone, parents and children, renters and homeowners, young and old. And so this November, we're asking for your vote for Martha Berrigan and myself for city council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Webster Lincoln.
So my name is Webster Lincoln. And I'm running for city council like everybody else here. You know, I want to continue to see our community thrive and grow as a diverse community of color. You know, I was endorsed by the San Mateo County Latinx Democratic Club. And I'm just asking for your support and your vote in the upcoming election on November 8th. As a member of the council, you know, I want to make sure that our city is providing services that are beneficial to all residents, including our seniors, and help improve quality of life. And I also want to help advance development projects that are equitable and offer significant community benefits, such as subsidized space for our local entrepreneurs and small businesses, jobs for our residents, and more housing at all levels of affordability. Thank you.
Thank you. Q. Smith.
I am a native, born and still here homeowner. I haven't been anywhere but here. I've experienced what East Palo Alto has to offer. And I think that I think that I would be a better person in regards to the community, helping me to be a voice, to articulate what it is that we need as a community of color, as a community of people striving to have a better life. Location is important, but it's nice to have a location that represents you because you represent it. And so I think that the voters would be pleased with me to know that I understand that our community needs somebody from the community who drive the same streets, who have the same struggles, who understand that, yes, we have language barriers, but humanistic communication, love and understanding, being compassionate, being empathetic to get the job done, being resilient, and respect is what I'm focusing on, that we have to care. We are each other's keeper, and I'm able to do that. We're able to do that as people if we just respect each other and do our best. And whatever it is that we need, times change. What was needed in 1999 is not needed now. But one person can't make that decision. We all have to come together. And so hopefully we'll be able to do that with better communication across the board, town halls, getting involved with the already established meetings that are there, time-wise, just people having time to be involved. And it's hard when you're working every day, but we need to hear from you. We need to know what works. We need to love each other and respect each other, if not love each other. And I think that someone sitting at the table who is fighting and running along with you, who is experiencing what you're experiencing, makes a difference than someone who may have lost their way. So I'm asking for votes for that reason.
Thank you. Gail Wilkerson.
How many minutes do we have? 2?
Maybe less than that.
I'm going to talk about the unpopular, the elephant in the room. I think this is my last on Zoom or air or in person debate, I guess it is. But I'm going to read this off. Maybe I'll get all this in. I think about this daily. I have a passion for this. In many other cities, they have monuments, statues in place, honoring their legends. I've spoken to many people that have created legacy projects. I have yet to see it. I think of the future that it should be recognized and shown positive efforts in knowing our past, our history, and not with a little place and locations where they can't be seen. They have plaques around town you guys probably don't know about. How would I think about its future? This rubs them the wrong way because it's not gentrifier hopeful. So I got to change that page. So I see 58 seconds left. But one councilman, he keeps saying this about the Olani Indians. I'm like, oh, they're Mexicans, so the Mexicans own East Palo Alto. I resent that fact, and I'm telling you to your face. Also, you read history. You said, that's what it is, and I'm not going to acknowledge the African Americans who incorporated this city. You said that other thing.
I did not say that. That's a lie.
On video, I wouldn't say it if it wasn't on video. I knew you deny it, but you said it.
Now, Gail, why do you think people in the time that you have left should vote for you?
I got 12 seconds left. I know the history. I want to bring back all those people that were forced out, that Mark Diamond is doing tours for, that Alberica is trying to force out. They pretend they know the founders and everything, and they throw out Gertrude Wilson's name and everything, but they don't do a darn thing about it. So that's why I'm here. And if you people are out there listening and you hear this, I'm for you. I'm for the legacy. I'm from the tradition. I don't want 43 churches blown up like Mark Diamond said in one of his posts. I got to figure a way to get rid of those churches. That's why I'm running, okay? My people are tired of being in the Central Valley when it gets too hot. They don't want to go to Georgia. They want to stay here in East Palo Alto. And that's what I'm here to see happen. If you don't like it, lump it.
Gail, I'd like to thank you, and I'd like to thank the other 5 candidates who've been talking with us on this particular show. And I'd certainly like to say to the voters, you've heard who's running for the East Palo Alto City Council. You have a definite choice to make. You've heard why they've been running, are running. You've heard what they will do if elected. And now it's up to you to cast your vote for 2 of them. I'd like to thank each of them for being with me today, and I'd also like to thank you for listening. Until next time.
Thank you, Henrietta.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.
Nice chat.